hair. You look like a pimp.
It's all pretend. I just created a character.
Dolemite.
You true.
Pull on that.
Oh, that's a weed.
That's right.
So first things first, I read somewhere where you said this is one of the most personal projects of your career. How so?
Personal?
Yeah.
What did I say now? I said it was one of my most personal.
Yeah.
Maybe because it's one of my ideas, and I kind of developed it from the beginning. And Rudy Ray Moore, it was kind of like somebody that I really, really was a fan of, and I thought he had a really great inspirational story. So to see it all come together, and it's not just my acting in it; it's all these other elements, that came together that I was part of, and
It's interesting that you say that because, what I knew of Dolemite was my aunts and uncles and mom, listening to it and I'm thinking, oh my God, am I supposed to be hearing this? I didn't know his story behind it, and I certainly didn't expect to get it from this film, but instead of getting a blaxploitation film, what we got was a film about perseverance, entrepreneurship, about a self-made man who lived his version of the American dream. It blew my mind.
Yeah, because the movie came out during the blaxploitation era, but this movie is about a guy that believed in himself and paid for his movies out of his pocket and got his records done and did them in his living room, and he's a guy that had the least amount, and his biggest gift was that he believed in himself because he wasn't a genius, and his movies are super crude and all, but he believed in himself, and that's a really inspirational story.
Does Eddie Murphy have that much confidence in himself?
Oh yeah, I've always been a really confident guy.
Yeah. You bet, in every cause, because it felt like with him, he bet on himself in every single situation. Didn't matter what it was. He's like, nope, I know who I am. I know what I can do. I know the audience is there. Is that you? You bet on yourself in every single situation.
I'm always confident, even if we crash and burn. I've mastered the art of walking away from the train wreck confidently. With my head up, still cool. Say, were you in that plane crash? Yeah, I was. What's next?
You're so silly. So Dolemite is a cult classic. He's a cultural icon. Which one of your characters do you get the most that people come to ask you about?
Not characters, movie. The movie that people the most is Coming to America.
I was gonna say.
For some reason that movie worked its way into the culture to where it's everybody has seen it, and it's always on television, and lines from the movie, and people dress up like the characters on Halloween, and there's a restaurant that turns itself into McDowell's on Halloween. So no other movie like that one.
In my opinion, it is the best comedy ever made and a perfect comedy from start to we can argue about it.
No, I'm not arguing.
I'm
I love
serious.
It.
It's a perfect comedic film. Perfection.
Yeah.
So I'm a little nervous because you're doing another
No,
because I love it so much.
You're gonna love. We wouldn't have. It's 30 years ago. We wouldn't have done the sequel. We wouldn't have done this movie unless we came up with a clever way to connect the story and live up to whatever expectations people have for it.
Did you always have an idea when you finished where Prince Akeem would be or where you wanted him to be after that?
No, we weren't. For years, we didn't even think about doing a sequel to this movie. And there would be talks about doing a play. We were like, let's do a Coming to America play. And that never came together. And then right around the time I got the Mark Twain Prize, somebody came and pitched the guy that directed Black Panther.
Mm-hmm. Ryan Coogler.
Him and a writer came and they pitched. It was like, hey, got an idea for Coming to America. And I didn't really like their idea, but it was like, I was like, this guy wants to make Coming to America? Well, maybe I should think about it. Motherfuckers like this want to direct. So we came up with something that we kind of...
Well, okay, so where do we find Prince Akeem? Where do we pick up?
He's in Africa. Yeah.
So is this movie set more in Africa than America?
it's mostly in Africa, and Wesley Snipes is in it, and he's playing a African warlord named General Izzy. He is really he's amazing in Dolemite as well.
Who knew he had? I mean, we knew he was an actor.
I knew. I've always known. And I told him years ago. Wesley, he started out doing everything, and then he came on the scene right when when the action movies with Schwarzenegger and Stallone, they used to be like the Marvel movies now, like the action movies used to be the biggest, and he jumped into that world with Van Damme and Seagal, and he became all of that. And that's what he got really famous for. That's what people associate him with. But I've always known that Wesley could do everything. I've seen him do. In the beginning, he did everything.
When you feel like you've done everything, like you have, was that the reason why you said now's the time to go back to SNL? Because you're like in a space where you feel I've done it. I've done everything.
No, I'm having so much fun sitting on the couch at home and just being, within earshot of the children. I said, it's a good. I could sit on this couch and not ever get off, and I'd be fine with that. But I was like, I don't want to have the last movie I did be Mr. Church. I want to do something. I love Mr. Church, but people know me for being funny, so I want to do something funny. So Dolemite came together, then Coming to America came together, then Beverly Hills Cop came together. I was like, okay, this is a great way to kind of bookend my thing, in case I never want to get off this couch, except to just do stand up. I could do that, and I could have like my little funny little bookend. And while I was at it, I said, let me go and host Saturday Night Live, so it's nice, neat little bookend. It's nice.
Can you do like Velvet Jones now? I Want to Be a Hoe. Like, can you do those again?
I don't know if I would do
landscape?
Velvet Jones.
I like Velvet Jones.
I don't know if I would do Velvet Jones, but yes, you can. You could do. You could still be funny without, stepping on people's toes and getting people ruffled and all, you could still.
But I like when you step on toes and get people ruffled.
But now you step on people's toes and they be outside picking it. You step on our toe! You step on our toe! No, it is wrong! You have to go apologize. I apologize for stepping on people's toes.
We're going to get Mr. Robinson. We're going to get Gumby.
You'll get him. I'm sure there'll be Mr. Robinson. I'm sure there'll be Gumby. And I'm sure there'll be a buckwheat. Yes. I'm sure, but that's as
times have made it. All right. Well, I just want to end on saying I love this film. There's a lot of buzz. Do you think about it? Do you open your arms to it? Do you say, I don't want to think about it, I just want to think about how much I loved this movie?
Yeah, well, I love it. Nobody ever set off to make a bad movie. Everybody wants to be in a good movie. So when you make a good movie and it's being well received, you love that. Now, I never listen to or read the stuff, because if you don't want to, I don't read any of it, bad or good. So I'm just happy to be involved in something that people want to see.